Hello, my name is Dr. Stephen Myers, and today I want to talk about Genesis 1, creation. Is it science or is it fiction? And we want to take a look at that and go through Genesis chapter 1, the first few verses, to find out about creation according to Genesis. The first few verses of Genesis chapter 1. And I want to go through this to point out a few things about the Hebrew. In Hebrew, it's just the opposite of English when you're trying to read. You read in English from left to right, but in Hebrew, it's just the opposite. You read from right to left. And here, at the very beginning, we have Bereshith. And then bara. Notice the first three letters here, Beth, Resh, and Aleph. Bereshith bara. It repeats the first three letters again in the next word. And this is, nice, I guess, Hebrew writing to make things sound similar, poetry-wise. And in writing, you have sounding the same, rhyming, I guess maybe for easy memory purposes. Then, Bereshith means in beginning, created God. Here's God, Elohim. The verb comes before usually the subject. So we have the verb first and then the subject, God. Notice it's in the plural form here, but a singular verb. And so some call this the plural of majesty. Next I want to point out here is it says Hashemayim, the heavens, the two heavens. Notice here we have a dual ending for the heavens. And then it goes down here, the seas is also a dual ending. And so we can see here that I think this is paired purposely because we have mayim, meaning water. And down here we have water or sea. And the only difference is here we have the sheen, which is added to it. So I think this is referring to the waters above, and then you have the waters below that are paired, and that's why they're dual. It's like the hands are two, we have two eyes, two hands, they're all dual form and ending. And I think this is why we have that, because we have the waters above the heavens and the waters underneath the heavens, and they're paired together in a dual form. Then I want to notice also here we have Haaretz, the earth. It ends with Haaretz, and then it begins with Haaretz. And this is also Hebrew where you end a sentence and then begin it with that same word. So that's another thing that happens in Hebrew. And I think we covered some of the key things here. It's Bereshith bara Elohim Eith Hashemayim wa Eith Haaretz. And the question is, how do you take this first phrase here? And I think the best way to take it as a temporal clause, since there is no article here, and that may be because it's trying to rhyme, that it would be best to translate it, when God began to create the heavens and the earth. And we want to take a look at this. Translate it. When God began to create the watery heavens and the earth was in a state of formlessness and emptiness, and darkness was upon the face of the watery deep, and the Spirit or breath of God blew over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. I also want to point out the formlessness and emptiness, tohu wavohu. This is two words to make one key meaning here of the vast emptiness and of the state of the earth at the very beginning of time. So here we have God, when God began to create. And this, the state, it's formless and void. So Genesis 1:1 is not any creation act. It's just telling us what was at the very beginning of creation, which was chaos, formlessness, darkness upon the face of the watery deep, and that's the word thohum, meaning watery deep. And then the Spirit of God, some translate it the wind of God or the breath of God, blew over the face of the waters. And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Here is that there is a big storm. You have all there is a watery deep. And there's chaos there, waves forming. We're at Caesarea. And like a big storm. And you have the storm cloud and waves back and forth. The water and so in this big storm, God breathes and blows on the face of the water, and calms the storm and parts the dark clouds, and then you have that let there be light, the dawn of light, of daylight. Creation stories. One key one is Marduk battles Tiamat in the Emmanuel Elish. Here you have a scene of it here. Marduk uses the wind to help him defeat the monster Tiamat, which some take as related to Thehom, the watery deep. Tiamat was the sea monster. It says he brought forth Imahula and the evil wind, the whirlwind and the hurricane, and the fourfold wind and the sevenfold wind, and the cyclone and the matchless wind. Then he set forth the winds he had brought forth, and the seven of them. And he defeats Tiamat, the monster. And what he does is he splits her in two, and from one half he stretches her out to make the heavens, and the other half he stretches out to make the earth over the watery deep. But in Genesis 1, there is no battles. God is not battling any monsters or killing any monsters and making things. But bara does mean to cut or to separate and divide. And so God is dividing the waters to make the heavens above. There is no creation in Genesis 1:1. As I said before, it's just a temporal clause verse with describing what it was like before creation. That it was formless and void and darkness over the Thihon, or watery deep. So Genesis 1:1, there is no creation. It's just a clause telling you what was at the very beginning of creation, this chaos and formlessness. There is no ex nihilo creation. That means creation out of nothing. It seems here that matter is eternal here in Genesis, and God is just dividing and ordering it. Ex nihilo was a later concept. It's a Latin phrase meaning out of nothing. It is a theological term that refers to creation not being made out of pre-existing matter. In ancient Near Eastern literature, there's at least 4 major types of creation stories. There is one begetting, where the God has a wife and they have children. And Ugarit, they found stories here you have of El and Ashtoreth, his wife, and they beget Baal or Baal, and beget sons and daughters. The other is spilling of semen that they thought was like a seed that can grow. Creation by battle, that's the Enuma Elish. Creation by action or separation, or creation by the word. God just speaks and it's done. There's no express mention of ex nihilo creation. Many accounts assume the watery darkness before creation, as does in Genesis 1:2. And some of them start out when there was not yet, as in Genesis 2 and Enuma Elish. The New Testament, Hebrews 11:3 states, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. It seems here that God made the world out of invisible matter. Maybe we should say dark matter. Also see Romans 1:20. Plato would say inert gas. It seems that the writer of Hebrews is understanding Genesis 1:2 as the LXX, which is the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, because tohu is translated as unseen or invisible. Is the word of God here in Hebrews 11:3 the Logos that created the world in John chapter 1? It may also be similar to Plato's world of ideas, the Logos, and even more closely to Philo's use of Logos. Now, the Church Fathers May, in his book Creato Ex Nihilo, argues very persuasively for the 2nd century AD development of the doctrine of creation out of nothing. It was not until the 2nd century AD that the Church Fathers saw a theological problem with eternal matter. It was their conflict with the Gnostics and the Middle Platonists that developed the idea that God created out of nothing. try to pour modern science back into Genesis, like the Big Bang, that Genesis 1:1 is the Big Bang, but there is no Big Bang there at all. It's just telling what the state of the earth was at the very beginning of time. The Bible is not a science book, it is pre-science. And this is how they saw the world back then, that there was formlessness and void, and how God created it out of this matter. So after the big storm, we have there in Genesis verse 2, the darkness over the watery deep, and God, the wind of God or the breath of God blows across the face of the watery deep, calming the storm and pushing the dark clouds away so there could be light. And God says, let there be light. And I see this as the dawn of the first day. In ancient times, the light of dawn was different than sunlight. In Genesis 1, God creates light on day 1 before the sun is created on day 4. So there's a difference between the light of day, the dawning of the day, and the light from the sun. They saw it as two separate different lights. And some of the rabbis connected this with the Shekinah glory of God. Isaiah 60 verse 1 says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of Adonai rises upon you. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 2 says, before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars grow dark. Here the sun and light are different. They're not the same. And the moon as well. Of course, they didn't realize the moon was just reflected light of the sun. Then in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 23, the new heavens and new earth will not need the sun or the moon to shine, for it's the glory of God that will give it light. The Shekinah glory. And I think the light here, it's depicting the dawn of the first day, the light of the Shekinah glory of God. That's different than sunlight. In verse 6, it says, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and morning were the second day. So on the second day, God creates the heavens, called the firmament, or ruach, and this was, they saw as solid. In ancient times, the heaven was seen as a solid stone to hold up the heavenly ocean. Rain came from this heavenly ocean above. According to the Targum of Jonathan on Genesis, the firmament was 3 fingers thick. The firmament held up this heavenly ocean above, and you can see Psalm 29:10, Psalm 148:4. So there's a heavenly ocean above, and according to the Targum, it was 3 fingers thick of stone. And this Hebrew word ruach comes from the verb ruach, which means stamp or beat out, spread out, like you're spreading out metal, and refers to the vault of heaven that God made on the second day of creation, separating out the waters from above from the waters below. A little diagram here of what they thought a pre-exilic worldview. And in Exodus 24, 9 and 10, it says, Moses and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and the 70 elders went up and saw the God of Israel. Under his feet, under God's feet, there was something like a pavement made of sapphire. And the word for sapphire there is lapis lazuli. That's what it meant. It's not our sapphire today. And it's clear as the sky itself. Here the firmament is described like the appearance of lapis lazuli, which is very beautiful blue in color, like the sky above. And Job chapter 37 verse 18 says, "Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and as molten looking glass." It's talking about a mirror. And mirrors back then were made out of polished bronze. So here we have the firmament made of lapis lazuli, and God is above here on his throne. You have the waters above the firmament, which is held back by the firmament, the lapis lazuli, and then the stars attached to it and rotate around it. And then you have the mountains were the pillars to hold up the sky. This gives you a little idea of what they thought back then. Here we have some more verses on the firmament. In Exodus there, it's lapis lazuli. In Ezekiel 1:22, it's like crystal. And Josephus in Antiquity of the Jews sees it as a crystal sphere. They saw crystal as frozen water, frozen ice, and so it melts and it rains. And then we have the pillars, the mountains that hold up the heavens, and in Job 26:11, and then the pillars of the earth that go underneath here, the mountains to hold up the earth. And the earth is spread out over the deep, and the heavens, the sky is spread out over the earth. And Isaiah 40 verse 22 says, "It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth." So God is up here on the dome, most translated the dome of the earth, looking down at the inhabitants that look as small like grasshoppers. And that stretched out the heavens as a curtain and spreadeth them out as a tent. And that's how they viewed the heavens there. It's like a big tent or a curtain spread out. And now I want to look at the Mesopotamian view. What did others around Israel think and believe about it? And Mesopotamia, the people there thought there were three heavens. The lower heaven, here's the lower heaven, the middle heavens, and then the upper heavens. And there's also three heavens mentioned in the Bible. Paul was caught up into the third heavens in 2 Corinthians 12:2. And this is their view, three heavens made out of three different stones, and we want to look at that. The lower heavens were made of jasper, on which the stars were inscribed. Jasper of the lower heavens was most likely the transparent blue quartz or chalcedony, which Pliny calls azura from Persia. This jasper is like the clear blue sky during the day. Today we call this stone blue chalcedony. It's not, when we say jasper today, that's totally different than the jasper that was meant in ancient times. And here we have the first heaven made out of blue, light blue jasper. Then the middle heavens was made out of sapphire. It's not our sapphire we know today, but in ancient times it meant lapis lazuli, very deep blue opaque stone. And here's the second heaven, or middle heaven. And that is the dark, and it identified as the dark blue sky, night sky. And this lapis lazuli was also the temple of gods. Baal makes his temple out of lapis lazuli. There in the Baal cycle from Ugarit. The only one I came across that didn't make it out of lapis lazuli was Sobek of Egypt, because he was the god of the dawn of the day, and his was made out of carnelian. The upper heavens, here we have made out of the Luludanitu stone, which was red, black, and white. So like an agate, a multicolored agate. Now we come to the early rabbinic worldview. According to the rabbis, there were 7 heavens because there were 7 different Hebrew names used for heaven. And likewise 7 different names for earth. And some see the 7 mountains in the first book of Enoch as corresponding to 7 heavens. And the 7 heavens related to the 7 planets, including the sun and the moon. And here we can see all the different 7 heavens and 7 earths. 2nd century AD, we come to Ptolemy's 9 heavens. And he wrote a book about this, and it's a geocentric system. It means everything revolves around the earth. And that's what the ancient people believed, even in the Bible. Everything revolved around the earth, and it's based on the 9 heavens, or spheres, and this dominated the Middle Ages until Copernicus. The first 7 heavens are the moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, plus the stars in sphere 8, and then the prime mover, or God, in the 9th sphere. One of the main differences with Ptolemy is the earth is seen as a sphere, when in ancient times they thought it was just a flat disk surrounded by a circular sea. All these views are geocentric, where the earth is stationary. And in Chronicles there, the earth shall not be moved. In the Middle Ages, the 7 heavens were expanded to 10 heavens. And 2nd Enoch travels through 10 heavens. In 3rd Enoch, there were 955 heavens above the 7th heaven. And see Charlesworth for that. The best example in literature is Dante's Divine Comedy. From the Bible, geocentricity, which is everything revolves around the earth. In several verses at the bottom here, Psalm 93:1, the world is established that it cannot be moved. It's stationary. And Joshua 10:13, so the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hastened not to go down about a whole day. So it's the sun that's moving around the earth, not the earth moving around the sun. In Ecclesiastes 1:5, the sun also arises, the sun goeth down and hasten to its place where he arose. In ancient times, especially in Egypt, you can see that the sun goes down into like a cave underneath the earth, and then comes back up on the other side and is reborn again. Copernicus comes along, and his view that no, this is wrong. Totally is wrong. Everything is revolving around the sun. Heliocentricity. And Galileo was a very strong proponent for Copernicus and promoted this. But Martin Luther and Calvin and others of the Reformation says the Bible is against it. And you saw those verses. And Martin Luther says the sun stood still. Joshua stopped the sun. He didn't stop the earth. So Martin Luther was against Copernicus and wrote about this. And Galileo, he looked through his telescope and he saw things don't revolve all around the earth. When he looked at Jupiter, he saw 4 moons revolving around Jupiter. And this greatly upset the church and Galileo's battle with the church. I would like to sum it up here with a quote from Galileo. The Bible tells us how to go to heaven, not how the heavens go. So we come to the end of this. Is Genesis 1 scientific? Let me know what you think. I have a paper on Bible and Science on Genesis 1 and others that are posted on academia.edu. You can get my papers there. So we have books there you can download as well for free. And let me know what you think. And if you like it, subscribe and hit that bell. And the website is BibleandScience.com. Thank you very much for your time.